All right, welcome to everybody around the world. And I mean that, everybody around the world. I hope a lot of people watch this and consider what I'm about to say because it is wise, intelligent, and makes a lot of sense. So, in case you don't know, in case perhaps maybe you had your head in the sand like an ostrich, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but over the last few weeks, we've had some pretty major developments, and I've been keeping abreast of all of them every single day. And this pertains to the flap or wave of recent UFO sightings around the world starting around last November. Uh, the mystery drones and all that, the orbs and everything else. These are just buzz names that were given to it in the media. Um, but essentially, the UAPs, the UFOs, also in the prior years, going back 5 years plus, we have even the US government and military releasing footage and documentation about UAPs. Sorry. So there's been a big buildup, but recently what it's escalated to is a number of whistleblowers coming out of the woodwork. And allegedly, I have yet to see proof, but allegedly, some of these whistleblowers, like Mr. Barber, whom I do believe him in his testimony, but allegedly he was one of the secret whistleblowers that were spoken about and referenced at the Congress hearings, congressional hearings about UAP disclosure over the last few years. We kept hearing in the news that like Louis Elizondo and Corbell and this and that, they knew of certain individuals who had testimony to share. And allegedly, Mr. Barber's testimony that we're starting to hear now in public, he was one of those figures, apparently. How true that is, I don't know. But in either case, it's all built up to the last few weeks. And in the last few weeks, we've heard something shocking come out, something called psionics. Okay. Now, Mr. Barber, just the other day, went at length with News Nation in an interview discussing the psionics, okay, in greater detail. Now, what are psionics? Well, this apparently is where certain individuals who have, and this is going to sound like science fiction to everybody, but apparently, there are certain individuals out there, just like you see in movies, right? Stuff like this occurs in movies. But there's people out there who have abilities. Um, some might call it psychic mediums or whatever, channeling mediums, telekinetic powers, this and that. Um, some people have extraordinary abilities, and whatever you want to call it, telekinetic, telepathic, all this mysterious ability. Well, apparently, a lot of people do have that. We know from declassified records from the government or whatever department of the government. I've read them myself, just trying to keep certain flag words out of this. But we know from certain released documents that they studied remote viewing. I mean, that's just a simple fact. It works because they used it. Apparently, they gave up the program. But anyways, a lot of people are aware of that. Well, what it's come down to is Mr. Barber's admitted that, yes, there are people out there who do have these more extraordinary abilities, supernatural abilities, that the abilities themselves are real. And some people genuinely possess these abilities. And where it comes into this psionics thing is that apparently we're being told that a lot of the UFOs, UAPs that have been flying around for a very long time can be controlled by these humans who have these supernatural abilities. Now, like I said, that sounds like something from a sci-fi movie. We're being told that this is fact. Now, unfortunately, I actually believe this, and I say unfortunately, I'll get to reason why unfortunately in a moment. But I do believe this testimony. Why? Because, and I hate to admit it, but I have done these things myself. And when these are not things that you openly tell people because people will just think you're crazy. But I have done it on many more than one occasion in my life, and it does work. Now, to hear Mr. Barber, this accredited military serviceman, whatever the proper terminology is, and a whistleblower, to come out and admit that these abilities are real, certain people have them, and people have the ability to control UAPs with their mind. For him to come out and admit that, and me knowing from my own experience that such is possible, I've done it, Now, I'm not claiming that I've controlled UFOs, right? But I can explain later. But you can ask them to appear, you can ask them to move, you can signal them and they'll signal back and interact with you. I have done that. But for all this revelation to come out, I was excited at first, thinking, okay, so it's true. There are these superpower type abilities. Some people have them, not everybody has them. And the people who do have them, they're so cool and lucky that they get to go and work in these secret programs and interact with UFOs. Apparently, the people with these sonic abilities can make UFOs land as well. So we're learning that a number of the craft that were retrieved, such as the famous egg craft, were retrieved by these individuals who, using this psionic ability, made the UFO land so that they could retrieve it. Now, it's not that I don't believe these stories. I believe them, okay, even though these sound fantastic, because I've had my own experience with such, and I know that it has to be real because I've partaken to some extent with such, okay. And also in my 20 years study in UFOlogy, I do know other things I don't need to get into. So I'm not surprised that this is real. But it is alarming for the next few reasons. Number one, it's alarming that such will be disclosed by this whistleblower, right? I'm starting to appreciate why certain things were kept secret. I think we've reached an apex point right now where there's going to be some chaotic shift and change happening. And I'll explain why with this video. If it's true, and I think it probably is, if it's true that this psionic ability exists in individuals, and that some individuals, whether employed by the government or military or civilians at home, are capable of communicating with UAPs and their pilots, obviously, to make craft appear, to even make them maneuver certain ways, even to the point where you can make them land. We are at a point here, folks, and I haven't heard anybody else mention this, but we are at a very startling apex point where dramatic and profound change is going to happen chaotically. And why is this? Because Mr. Barber released footage of one of these psionic individuals who's kept anonymous. He had this type of device over his eyes, so you couldn't see his face or to identify him. But some of these individuals looked relatively young. And this was in a test group that he took out somewhere at some location, filmed it for the record. He is part of this Skywatch type group, and they do these type of things apparently. But I just saw the footage yesterday on News Nation, and they showed the clip of them out in the desert or wherever it is. And the psionic individuals actually got these UFOs to appear. But not only that, this sounds crazy. One of the guys, the sonic guy, says that he is able to pilot the craft. So he started making it fly around. Apparently, it was all on video. They documented. I don't know how they scientifically could prove that he was actually controlling it, or he could have just been claiming it. We don't know for sure. But the crazy thing is, and you see it in the video, another more adversarial UFO or potentially arrives and starts to fight that one. So there's a skirmish going on, and one of them started to come down or something. So this opens up a whole new avenue of dangerous reality for people. Let me just say one thing. If people have the abilities to take control of, in whatever aspect, just in either making them appear or actually physically controlling them, their maneuvers, even to the point where you can make them land, if any of this is real, which it probably is, we are in a dangerous reality right now. Okay? And the reason why is because if people had the ability to make planes crash using their mind, we would be in a very scary reality. It would be like 9/11 every day, potential. But apparently there are people who are capable of taking control of landing and obviously potentially crashing or using directly or indirectly for some bad purpose craft that are more advanced than an airplane. UAP craft are top secret when they're apprehended or when they're retrieved. They're top secret, as it should be. They need to be studied, see if they're safe, if they have radiation, all this very important stuff. Now, if people have the ability to make UFOs land or crash or initiate skirmishes, this is very dangerous. What if some random person in the public is like, oh, psionics is real? Let me practice this. I've seen a lot of people in comment sections saying, hey, after I watched the News Nation clip, I went out and tried this and I made a whole bunch of UFOs appear in this and that. We're on a very dangerous doorstep right now. One danger is you'll have random members of the public, at whatever point in their life they realize this stuff could work. You're going to have more people now, as already evidenced, trying this out. So you're going to have a higher number of civilians who will be trying out this psionic ability. Not all of them will possess the psionic ability, but some of them very well possess the psionic ability. And we could potentially see UFOs crashing down, landing down. We don't know what these UFOs have on them. They could have radiation. They could have hostile life forms. It could be a whole host of danger. What if somebody makes a UFO land, but it lands in an adversary nation and they apprehend technology that puts them at an advantage over America or somebody else? There is a host of very dangerous problems that come with people, civilians, any humans, being able to take control of UFOs and make them land. That's a very dangerous situation. Like I said, if people had the ability, psionic ability, to make airplanes, commercial airplanes or military airplanes, to take control of them, to make them appear, make them land, wouldn't that be a problem? Well, UFOs are more dangerous potentially than these things because we don't know what the UFOs are, what they're made of, what they contain, and what dangers they might possess to the public. So this is a very chaotic situation. And I can understand why such stuff would have been kept secret all these years. It's kind of ridiculous to consider that all of this is now being disclosed openly by whistleblowers. Okay, so, I have nothing against these people, but really, this is not something you want to go out and tell the public. So, but it's too late. A lot of people have already gone out and said, oh, I made UFOs appear. Now, another danger is you don't know who's piloting these UFOs. You don't know at all. They could be hostile beings or neutral beings or friendly beings. What if they're neutral to negative and they don't really care about us? And what if this is just like a game where they're you're not teasing us, but it's like a tease, and you're going to provoke the arrival of hostile or neutral beings that could cause harm to Earth? That's another inherent danger. Individuals on an individual basis could put themselves in severe danger by contacting craft, and it may not be somebody or some positive being. It may be a neutral to negative being, and something might happen to those individuals or their family and such. Okay? It's also inviting extraterrestrial espionage of Earth. These are very ridiculous things, dangerous things, and it is now occurring like a tidal wave because of this whistleblower testimony. I would really advise, even though I think this stuff is cool, it is now to the point where it's scary. And I would advise News Nation, Mr. Barber, Elizondo, Corbell, and the others to put a lid on this, because this is not information that the public should be hearing. Okay, we don't live in a civilization that is hundreds or thousands of years in the future where psionic powers are something that people are used to and can control, and there's laws and regulations around them and whatever else to keep the populace safe. We're at an age where we're not capable of that responsibility. It is something new or hidden to us, and it's all blasting out of the woodwork like a fire hydrant being opened up, and it's spraying everywhere, and it's just going to cause chaos. You're going to see all sorts of things showing up on the planet now. You're going to see people controlling craft now and trying it out. You're going to see people potentially causing skirmishes up. I mean, what happens if somebody takes control of a UAP and they make it accidentally crash into a military facility? What if somebody with psionic ability accidentally sets off nuclear missiles? I mean, if they can control UFOs, why not nuclear missiles? One could say because it's the UFO technology is designed to operate by psionic ability. Okay, fine, right? But humans possessing telepathic telekinetic sonic ability, if they can control UFOs, what else can they control? Okay, maybe they may not be able to set off missiles on military bases, but what if the militaries of the humans have top secret technology that uses psionic tech, and that psionic tech sitting in the lab one day gets activated by a random civilian just practicing stuff? Or nefarious civilians purposefully doing nefarious stuff? We're open to a host of a major problem. But this brings me to my next point. This is the most glaring issue that I have with all of this. It's a big question mark. Why are people, such as in Barber's own recorded evidence, why are people, even civilians, capable of piloting and controlling UAPs with their mind? Making them appear is one thing. That would be just like, okay, you have the ability to send out like some type of electromagnetic little pulse from your brain, which we will call telepathy, or maybe it works on a quantum level, whatever. Maybe some people could send out a little telepathic impulse, and for whatever reason, it would mean that the UAPs, whoever's piloting them, possesses a technology themselves or on the craft that can receive, like a radar, any telepathic impulses from humans, okay? Or any telepathic impulses, like a sensor dish, okay? And maybe they get in a sensor and it maps out, oh, it's coming from this GPS coordinate over here. Oh, it's that little individual sitting down in their yard. They want the UFO to appear. And if the beings piloting that craft are like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, let's have some fun or whatever. Let's just show off and flash our lights and make them feel good about themselves. We could have that innocent type scenario. But the danger that I'm getting to is if people have the ability to take control of craft, you have to ask yourself, why would any advanced species possess advanced craft that fly around and are able to be hijacked by random civilian lower life forms? Why would you have that? Would the US government be flying their SR-72 Blackbirds or their stealth fighters over other nations of this planet if those advanced US craft were able to be controlled and hijacked by any random member of the public of those nations? No, they would not. It's foolishness. Why would the advanced beings, whatever they are, who have all these craft, why would they have craft that can be randomly hijacked by lower life form civilians even? Why? Ask yourself this. Why are the craft? Because allegedly it's on video. We can see it happen. Why are they able? Answer: it is not a flaw. It is being done on purpose by whoever is piloting these certain craft that can be manipulated. Maybe not all the UAPs are manipulatable, right? But the ones that are manipulatable have been made manipulatable by their pilots. So this is just using the wisdom of logic. These, whoever they are, mystery beings, even if they look human, whatever they are, have designed their craft so that their craft can be randomly taken over and hijacked by humans. And they allow the humans to call upon them to arrive. They allow them to take control of the craft, even to land the craft, even to the point where it could start skirmishes with other opposing, or, in whatever reason they're opposing, other opposing UAPs. Why would they do this? I'm not claiming to know why, but we can rule out things that it's not. But what it leaves open on the table is something very potentially dangerous. We either have the scenario where the craft that are manipulatable or summonable or landable by humans, that these are possessed by friendly beings. However, I have one problem with this. A lot of this whistleblower evidence is coming from Barber, and Barber himself said that the egg that landed exuded radiation, which severely injured his team. Okay? Now, why would friendly beings be like, oh yeah, you could land our craft? Because Barber said that egg, UAP was actually controlled by a psionic team member who then landed it. Now, you're an advanced alien. You're going to just sit there in your cockpit and be like, oh, wait a second. All of a sudden, our UAP is being taken control of by some random person down there. Oh my gosh, but we're powerless. That is not the reality. You have beings piloting a craft, and they're like, oh, okay, one of the humans wants to take control. Okay, time to let them take control. Now, that's not a good scenario. This could be very dangerous if it's not good beings. Okay, if good beings are up there, maybe they're angelic. Okay, and maybe they're doing some type of positive disclosure and they're letting some people do this, but they're going to maintain levels of safety and not let civilians cause crashes or galactic wars and or military violations and such, right? Maybe. But who can say that for sure? Maybe there are some good ones out there who are doing that, but there could very well be bad ones or even just neutral ones out there who are allowing this to happen with their craft. And I'm leaning towards that it's definitely some bad ones or neutral ones out there because they allowed a radioactive craft to come down and be landed by the psionic team. Okay, and not just one, there's undoubtedly been many others. Okay, now I think if they were positive beings, they would have warned the military and psionic team that there was radiation. Okay. And even if the military department's heads were like, we're not going to disclose to the retrieval team that it could be radioactive for whatever reason, even if the humans are going to cause that type of impasse, I think if there are positive beings who are so wise, they would directly inform the psionics team or the retrieval team, hey, just be careful. There's radiation on there. They would have done that. Okay. Even if the human department heads didn't want to tell the retrieval team, the beings who allowed their craft to be landed and retrieved and taken would have told the retrieval team so that nobody could be injured, right? That's only sensible. If you're that advanced and if you're good, you're going to do that. But evidently, what I think we have, based on the evidence, is that there are neutral to negative beings who are allowing their craft to be taken control of by humans, even to the point of maneuvering, controlling them, using them for whatever purposes, and landing them. This is extremely dangerous. We don't know what type of biological, bacterial, viruses, or anything that are on these craft. We don't know if there's some type of exotic materials. We don't know if there are exotic algae or plankton from some other world that pose a severe threat to our ecosystems. What if there's a grain or a seed? You know, birds spread plants by pooping everywhere around the world. That's how plants and forests develop. What if these beings let this craft land and, oh, there's a couple seeds from one of their alien plants in their alien world here? And what if that plant's able to take over and it causes problems? What if there's fungi spread by spores? That would be even worse. Oh, you know, atmosphere, air contains all sorts of bacteria, viruses, particles, fungal spores, algae spores. Everything is in the air on this earth. You have an extraterrestrial vehicle landing. Yeah, it might have purifiers in its air, but it could contain air from outside. And the outside air might contain all sorts of things that don't exist on this planet, all sorts of dangers. Okay? That's a very, very dangerous other thing that could be happening here. Now, there's been a whole pile of craft already retrieved over the many decades, and it's not just been retrieved by the American government. Many other nations allegedly have done this as well, allegedly. So what we have is a whole pile of alien craft, whether, you know, or UAP craft, let's put it that way. Some of them could be from this Earth, right? Not all of them might be from outer space. But at the end of the day, we have lots of nations around the world, allegedly, with all these craft. They've may not have been able to back engineer them. I mean, if something is, the more advanced something is, the less likely you're able to back engineer it, especially if you're not given a blueprint or any explanation, right? They might only be able to back engineer the more mundane parts or components, right? But not understand how it works and this and that there. That's a possibility, right? So that might be a tease. They're just letting us see some fancy objects, but we can't really grasp how it works and what they are or duplicate them. Every craft is different. They might be able to back engineer a simpler craft or whatnot. But anyways, right? It's a very dangerous situation. It cannot exist for that long. It's not like this has just started happening, because allegedly it's been happening for years, and psionic teams have been used for years, maybe even decades, to do this type of stuff. So it's been happening all this time, and nothing's gone bonkers yet in the world. But the problem with this disclosure from the witnesses and the whistleblowers, sorry, is that as innocent as it might seem for them to release this information, it's probably been kept top secret for a reason. And by revealing this information to the random public, you're going to have a lot of people trying this out, and a lot of those people might be able to pull it off. And all it's going to take is even a good person to accidentally cause a problem. Okay, if you're able to do these things and you accidentally steer a UAP or land it somewhere or crash it somewhere or make it do something bad, even if by accident, that's a severe problem. Okay, what will leak out from this downed craft? Nobody knows. You don't even know what it is, right? But the worst thing is if nefarious people start abusing this. Okay, that's a severe concern. And because such awareness has been flooded and pushed out the floodgates to everybody now, hey, it's real. Everybody considered it. I mean, lots of people consider, oh, telepathic powers might be real, and this and that there. Even Germany investigated stuff like that in the World War times, as everybody knows. All their mysterious studies that they did on things, and alleged craft that they built. Okay? There's just so much danger that can come from this, and now we're going to have so many people out there trying it out. It's going to cause chaos, and it's going to cause chaos rapidly. It would have been better if everything just kept secret, because in order to do these type of things, you require belief. And if you don't fully believe that you can do this psionic stuff, then you're not going to be able to do it. Now, if we've been told that, if it's been secret all this time and people don't genuinely know that it's real, they're not ever going to really believe it, and therefore they're not ever going to really be able to use it. Maybe only on some spurious occasions. I'm open to believing that type of stuff, and based on interactions that I have had, I'm open to believing that it's real. But I had not been told by an authority with video evidence and such that it is bona fide real. If that had happened, I might have been more successful in attempts. But let me share one of my own personal experiences and show everybody the potential dangers and hazards that can come from interacting with UAPs. Again, we don't know who's piloting each of these individual craft. Could be good, bad, or anywhere in between. One night, years ago, I was out on my yard right through that window, and I had my flashlight, and like usual, I was trying to get some UFOs to appear, and I would signal light patterns at them, and they would flash back. Now, that usually happens for me, which indicates that I have psionic ability, right? Good for me, whatever. Now, one night I was doing it out there years ago, and there was a UFO that was particularly lower in the sky than I ever see them. This is probably one of the lowest UFOs I've ever seen, and it was flying around the neighborhood just a couple miles away. I live on the shore of the coastline, so I can see quite a ways up. It was flying around, and as I was signaling it, it was responding, matching the signals and all this and that there. I don't give away all my secrets, and it's not rocket science, but it got closer and closer to where it was, I don't know, half a mile away from me. I then or maybe even a quarter mile. I started to get more frightened because I'd never seen a UFO that close before, and it was communicating with me. So it was evidently, it was matching in response what I was doing for it, to it. It was definitely 100% communicating with me, and it was getting closer and lower to me. I started to get more afraid. At first, it was just like, you have your childish enthusiasm. Oh, this is fun. This is cool. As it got closer, I started to realize, I don't know, it's piloting that. What if they're not good? Right? And the communication continued until I got, I don't know, like I said, like a quarter mile from me or something. And all of a sudden, after I did one of my visual communications to it, instead of the usual response that it had been doing the whole time, it shot down a blue beam of light or energy so instantaneously, at the speed of light, obviously, that from my perspective, I was waiting for it to respond right away with the white light, as I had been doing, as it had been doing, matching the rhythm, the pattern, and this and that there, and the color of the light. And then all of a sudden, once it got closer like that, it goes blue beam, and his entire yard out there, the entire yard, all the grass. This was at nighttime. Everything, my house, everything was illuminated with blue light, like sky blue color blue, like a beautiful blue, like a rich sky blue color. Everything was illuminated. So it was pitch dark night, and everything all of a sudden is illuminated like daylight, but it's the color blue. I was looking at the grass, and the grass was blue. I looked up at the house walls. My house is like peach or pink. They were blue. Everything was blue. I looked at everything. Everything was blue. I didn't feel anything occurring. I didn't feel any heat or energy or anything, but everything was blue. And then it turned the blue light off. And at that point there, I got deathly afraid because A, I don't know what it just did to me. Maybe it was good. Maybe they killed some cancer in my body. I don't know. Maybe they were scanning me. I don't know. Maybe if it wasn't good, it was neutral, like they were scanning or something, just to analyze. Like, oh, who is this one communicating with us? Let's go do a quick scan. Oh, okay, now we know everything about them, biologically or whatever. I mean, maybe they did that, maybe something neutral. What if they were negative? What if that blue beam, maybe they're from a civilization 1,000,000 years more advanced than us, 1,000,000,000 years more advanced. Maybe you'd only need to be 1,000 years more advanced. And by shooting a blue beam at me, they've put something inside of me. Now, I don't believe there are things inside of me. I'm not like that. But I'm just saying, we don't know what thousands of years higher tech is going to do or capable of. Maybe it transmitted something. Maybe it altered something in a negative way, right? Maybe it had negative consequences, is my point. I don't know what happened to me because of that blue beam. I didn't notice anything bad happened to me or anything bad happened since. But that is something to be concerned about. I don't know if it was good or bad. Right? Now, what if people out there are, by the way, when I went to, I immediately fled. Like once that had happened, I was deathly afraid. I stopped being excited. I ran down the steps, went into my house, and highly expected to be abducted that night. Nothing happened that I know of. But still, I was deathly afraid because instead of it just being, a craft way up in the sky, a light up in the sky, oh, it's so cool, it's moving around and it moves when I flash my light or it flashes light back at me and that's so cool, yay. But once they get close to you and then beam blue beams of light on you, then you begin to realize, okay, no, this may not be all fun and games. What if I get taken? What if I get dissected, for heaven's sake? All sorts of terrible things. You don't know because you don't know what's piloting them. So this is why it's a completely stupid and ignorant and dangerous thing to go out there trying to communicate with craft. Okay, because you don't know who's piloting them. Okay, you can't say, oh, God is always going to protect me. You don't know. God might say, well, you're stupid for doing that. You go into the jungles of Africa and go up to a pride of lions and say, hey, lions, hey there, and the lions come up and eat you. What are you going to do? Complain? It's a pretty stupid thing to do, right? Or even if you can't see the pride of lions, you go into a jungle knowing that there could be hostile things in there. And you're like, hey, everything, hey, I'm here. Come look at me. Come meet me. And then something that you didn't notice comes out of the woodwork and eats you, right? These are the dangers that come along with this. You have no clue what's up there in that jungle, which symbolizes flying the UAPs. You don't know. It could be lions, could be hyenas. You know what I mean? So to speak. So people are going to be in a whole heap of dangerous situations right now because of this whistleblower testimony. And I'm not trying to make the whistleblowers feel bad, but I would advise them to shut up about this. That's all I could say. Because right now it started a domino ripple effect that the logic shows it's going to be a ripple effect, a domino effect. And right now the wave might be tiny, but pretty soon you're going to see some bonkers stuff happening. Because if these beings, whoever and whatever they are, have designed their craft so that they can be hijacked by humans, by lower life forms, we are only going to see that exponentially increase, that manipulation increase. Okay? And like I suggested before, I'm not claiming to know who's piloting each craft. How the hell would I know that? right? But there could be bad ones or neutral ones out there. And like I said, if they were good ones, they wouldn't allow people to land craft to be retrieved that are radioactive and stuff like that there to the point where it harms people. So I think we have evidence that there is neutral or negative intent in some of these beings that are allowing their vehicles to be hijacked. Okay? And why would, stop and ask yourself, why would any, if you apply it to the human situation, why would, let's say, the government employ craft out in the field to fly around that opposing or other nations could hijack using their mind? Why would the government do that? There's a reason for it, a motive for it. Clearly, these ones want their craft to be taken advantage of. They want their craft to land, be landed. They want their craft to be studied. Okay, so yeah, there's a possibility it's good beings, and maybe the radiation burns on that one retrieval team were unintentional, whatever. Um, maybe on the vast whole, we don't need to panic and worry. But come on, man, common sense tells you that this is a very stupidly dangerous thing and ability to be in the hands of the public for people to just take control of UFOs. I certainly don't want that ability, right? I do not want that ability. Um, some people might just have the ability whether they want it or not, but that's not the point. I would never utilize that ability because that's really stupid and dangerous. Okay, really stupid and dangerous. So all I can say is you got to watch. I mean, am I wrong? Am I wrong for saying this is a danger and concern? You got members of the public now, good or bad, who are like, oh, it is real. I can do this. I can make UFOs come down or take control of them and fly them. All it's going to take is for one person to do something on purpose or by accident and then crash a UFO down somewhere and cause mayhem. That is a really, really stupid scenario to be in, but that is the scenario that we're in right now. Okay, when Barber and his team went out, as evidenced on that video that they showed on News Nation, and the psionic team members took control of a UFO, like I said, they claim to be flying it. What if the UFO has weaponry on it? What if by accident, because they're not trained in all this stuff, that's the first time they flew the UFO. They don't know how the hell it works. What if they go beep? Oh, oops, I pressed a button. What does that button do? Oh, and something massive blows up. You know what I mean? What if they press another button by accident? Beep. Oh, and it dumps all the radioactive waste out of the craft's engine compartment. And then some neighborhood gets doused with radiation, or it vacates the air or the germs on board, and then these foreign diseases come down. Really stupid. What if they just accidentally crash it into something? You know what I mean? What if people get injured or killed in the public? What if they accidentally fly over a military installation and radiate all the top secret information and data out to China or something, or some other nation? I got nothing against China. I'm not trying to demonize them, just as a random example. Right? There's so much danger that could come from this. But from that News Nation footage, we saw the guy allegedly take control of the UFO, fly it around, and then another UFO showed up, and there was a skirmish. I think they even shot at each other. Now, you have to ask yourself, why was another UFO concerned that this one was being hijacked? Like I said, advanced beings are not going to be so dopey that they have their craft designed so that humans can hijack them and then not realize it. They know that they're hijackable. So the craft that got hijacked and used by the human civilian, it's 50-50. It's either good beings or bad beings. We don't know. But it's possible that they were bad beings or neutral with a less than positive intent. Okay? And it might have actually been good beings that showed up to combat it. Now, that would actually make sense. Now, stop and think about this. You have some nefarious or neutral group that are allowing their craft to be hijackable, okay? And one of them gets hijacked and the guy's flying it around. Then you have like the responsible, the positive beings acting like the police, like, oh, wait a second, this is irresponsible behavior. Let's go stop this right now. I think it's quite likely that is what actually occurred in that clip, because a lot of people ignorantly are taking it in the opposite regard, and they're saying that, oh, no, he took control of a craft. They don't stop to think about this, that, who it came from, the intentions of those who created it. You just took control of a craft, and they just automatically assume that the one that showed up to, go after it was a bad craft. Why is it bad? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, why is it bad? Did that craft go and attack the team? No. It tried to stop that craft that had got hijacked. So, I mean, common sense, it makes sense to me that the good one showed up to stop it. So, anyways, I'm leaning towards that it's not a good thing that people can use psionic ability to take control of craft. There's some motive that beings want their craft to be hijackable. And it's not for the public to learn. If the beings wanted the public to learn about them and their craft, then the beings, no disrespect out there, could just land somewhere and be like, hey, we're real. Here's our craft. Let's take you on a walkthrough, a tour. You want to know how something works? We'll tell you. Did they do that? No. That would be responsible and sensible. Do you think responsible, sensible, and no disrespect? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But to me, it seems like it's irresponsible for a positive, good race of beings or beings to allow their craft to be hijackable. Okay? And the other dangerous and scary implication in all this is that the fact that these craft, whichever ones, are able to be hijacked by the human mind shows you, evidently, that the technology that these beings possess taps into human mind. That's scary. That has a lot of implications. If they're not angelic and good beings, this could be bad. Now, if they are in maybe the good beings and the bad beings both possess technology like this, that's possible too, right? If they are good angelic type beings and they're just monitoring, observing, looking after and safeguarding Earth and this and that there and the environment, good, that's cool. I got no problem with that. And maybe they have technology that can scan all the human minds. Maybe they know what we think, what we're imagining, all that type of high level stuff. Maybe. As long as they're good beings, I got no problem with it, right? But from the evidence, it shows that what potentially could be neutral or negative beings who've made hijackable craft have technology that's able to tap into the human consciousness of all humans, because they're not just randomly selecting people. They're not randomly giving humans psionic abilities. The beings, evidently, the ones with the hijackable craft, have technology that can tap into the human consciousness. This opens a host of problems that you would see from like sci-fi movies. If bad beings know our thoughts, this is very dangerous. If good beings do, we got nothing to worry about. If they're neutral or bad, that's like uber max level espionage on the whole planet. Okay? You'd have nowhere to hide. You wouldn't even be able to hide your own thoughts or plans. We would be ripe to be conquered at some stage like that if the beings are neutral or negative. A neutral race could conquer the planet, okay, but not be nefarious about it. Okay? They might colonize the planet, but be semi nice to us. We don't know. You could have a nefarious race come down and completely abuse us. You could also have a good race come down and colonize in order to put law and order in effect to make the world a better place. All different scenarios. But do any of us know who is piloting each of these craft? There's probably good ones, bad ones, and neutral ones out there. This is the danger. And it shows that this technology that can tap into the human consciousness is possessed by some beings out there. And that's some scary stuff if it's in the hands of those who are not good, okay, in terms of beings and people. Okay, if any foreign nation got a downed craft that possessed this type of technological ability, and a foreign adversarial or negative nation amongst the humans utilized or back engineered that technology, they would then be able to have the highest powered level of espionage possible and could map out, scan, locate, know what any human is thinking on the planet. They would be able to dominate the Earth. You could also have neutral beings that want to play war games with Earth like it's a like it's a game of chess, and they might give certain factions technology to watch how it plays out like a video game. This is why it's dangerous. Okay, so the only thing that we can do is we can't stop these beings, whatever they are, from arriving with whatever technology they have. But what we can do is keep certain things secret so that the public doesn't go out there and start abusing it or using it and causing chaos to happen. That's my point. And we all have to realize that, yep, these beings have technology that can tap into the human minds. Okay, and however it works for them, on their screen, on their layout, they see little blips like on a sonar, probably. They're like, okay, this person, we're receiving reception from them, back from them, so they have psionic ability. All the other dots that aren't lit up, they're the people who don't have psionic ability, stuff like this. And Gary Nolan, if I have the name correctly, I watched a video featuring him. I think it was on News Nation as well. He was showing, he's a scientist. I can't remember his titles and all that. But he was showing in his studies on this that inside the brain and like the regions and neural networks of the brain, people who are contactees with UFOs or whatever the terminology was, people who had interaction with UFOs had regions of their brains physiologically altered. They had extra neural connections that shouldn't be there. So you have to ask yourself, and he was the way it came across as he said it. He may have explicitly portrayed it like this or not, but the way I took it was that he was saying this is like definitive proof that there are biological alterations in people who have interacted with ETs or their craft. Now, are these dangerous or bad biological alterations? How would we know? They might give some people psionic abilities. And again, this takes it into another wacky sci-fi level thing. These beings, evidently, for some reason, whatever technology they possess is able to produce biological alterations in humans so that the humans can psionically interact with them. Now, if in the hands of good beings, this is okay. If in the hands of neutral or bad beings, this is extremely bizarre, unbelievable, but apparently real, and is very dangerous. Okay? For example, that UFO that shot the blue beam of light on me. What if that thing was updating some neural passageways for me so that I can further my psionic ability? I don't know. I'm not going to think anything because I don't know what the heck it did, and I don't need to worry about it because I'll never know. But things like this you have to consider. What if they obviously have such technology? They could be flying around the world, zapping everybody with whatever it is, altering these neural pathways to make people psionically tappable. We know that they have technology in their craft that is psionically tappable by humans. They design their craft for this reason, and we know that they have the ability, allegedly, to produce the biological changes to be receptive to psionic interaction of craft. What does that tell you? Like I said, I wish we knew whether they were good or bad beings or neutral and what their intent was with all this, but it doesn't take rocket science to stop and think about the dangers, the implications that this could bring if it is not regulated. And the beings are not down here saying, hey, this is what it is, this is how it works, let's help you regulate it so that the humankind can get used to this. Are they doing that? No. It's been done in secret by military for decades, allegedly. That's not a good sign. And then, unless it was all part of the secrecy so that they could learn about it and then disclose to the public, okay, fine, right? But it's come down to the civilian population now, right? So that's not smart. You're not going to dump out all this revolutionary, groundbreaking, huge evolutionary leap in scientific and awareness so instantly. That's like dumping all of this on humankind in one day. That's what it feels like. It's just like this should be taught in a progressive manner so that we become able to use it. And if it was being done like that, it would be done in stages properly, whether by human intervention or by extraterrestrial direct intervention. But this is not happening. Okay? And right now it's being dumped on the civilian population. And we don't see the beings coming down telling us how to use it. So this doesn't look good to me. I'm not trying to claim if it's good or bad, this and that. I think it's a mixed bag. We have good ones and bad ones out there. I'm leaning towards there are neutral or bad ones that are causing this to happen, that it's not good. I could be wrong, right? But the dangers and the implications of all this sonic stuff, this is unprecedented. Humanity is in a new era now. I don't believe that Barber is lying about this. I don't believe that all this is made up. They do have the team footage, like I said, that shows all this taking place. I don't believe all this is faked, okay? I'm not going to go down some weird, crazy conspiracy rabbit hole that even the whistleblowers and disclosure movements are all a psyop to brainwash us into getting implants or psionic manipulations to our being so that we can be taken over, or by people or beings. I'm not going to go down some wacky rabbit hole, but I bet you some people are going to start saying that, right? And they're going to say it's the mark of the beast or the Antichrist and all this and that. They're like the usual type of hoopla, right? I just think that these certain whistleblowers shouldn't have come out and admitted these things. I really don't think they should. I think there's going to be dangerous implications because of this. And if there are righteous and good beings up there, then I really hope they come down and intercede to put a stop to any potential dangers. Okay, so if there are good ones up there, we should hope and expect, if they're not the ones doing these things, that they're going to come down and set things right. This is what we can only hope. If there is a law of non-interaction, that all beings, that whoever mandates this over there, if I don't know, right? But if there is a law of non-interference that good ones and even bad ones adhere to, evidently, then if the good beings hypothetically are aware of the current scenario of neutral or bad beings allowing such to occur, then and violate the non-interference, then the good beings should do their policing duty. You would expect them to honor and to step in. And even though they would likewise be violating non-interference, it would at that point be logically necessary in order to undo the negative ripple that has been caused by other violations by the criminal side of the EBEs. Right? So that makes sense. But anyways, take care, folks. God bless. And let's just hope and pray that nothing crazy or stupid happens with all of this. Let's really hope. Okay? Because like I pointed out earlier, you could have some crazy stuff going on soon. You could have some real crazy stuff. Who is going to stop a random member of the public who one day is like, you know what? Now I found out I can control UFOs. And he goes out there every night trying to. And then one day he gets hold of one, flying it around like a lunatic, and then something bad happens, right? That's inevitable now at this point because of all of this. And all of this sounds crazy, like science fiction, but apparently it's real. So I would recommend, in closing here, do not try to communicate with UFOs. Don't even ask any to appear, because what if they're bad? And what if they want to land and do something to you, right? Or others? Right? Just don't welcome a vampire into your house. That type of effect, right? You don't want, if these beings were just watching us and they're nefarious or neutral, but then all of a sudden lots of humans start contacting them or taking control of their ships, maybe that would invite some type of negative or neutral arrival. We don't want to instigate something like this to happen. Don't interact with UFOs. If they are good and angelic beings up there flying some of these, and they don't interact with humans, is for a sensible reason. Leave it be as it is. Okay, if you want to ask them to show up and sparkle some lights at you just for the heck of it, fine, there's nothing bad happening there. But you don't know who's piloting these things. Do not try to communicate with UFOs. I highly recommend that you don't. Okay, certainly do not do anything stupid like try to pilot one or land one. I mean, for heaven's sake, I can't even believe that I'm here sitting here saying these things. It sounds like I'm living in a parallel reality. But apparently it's real. So anyways, take care, folks. See you all later.